Okay, when we think about combat sports, our minds usually go straight to raw power, right? But what if the deadliest weapon isn't the fist, but the thought behind it? Today, we're going to decode fight IQ. This is the secret language, the thing that really separates the good fighters from the absolute legends. I mean, it's easy to get mesmerized by the explosive power, the lightning fast speed, all those highlight reel moments. But is that all there is to it? What if that's just the tip of the iceberg? What if the real fight is the one we can't see? A silent war of wits, happening in the tiny fractions of a second between strikes. The boxing legend Bernard Hopkins, a guy who was winning world titles well into his 40s, he put it perfectly. He said most guys bring checkers to the ring, but the elite, they're playing chess. They see the ring as this high-speed, high-stakes chessboard where your mind is actually the most dangerous weapon you have. All right, so let's peel back that layer of pure physicality and look at what's really going on. The brain behind the brawl, the hidden intelligence that's actually winning these fights. Because here's the thing, at the elite level, it's not really about who has the best physical hardware. It's an information processing war. The fighter who wins is usually the one whose mind can download, analyze, and execute a plan based on incoming data faster than the other guy. Okay, so we keep throwing this term around, fight IQ. But what is it exactly? What does it actually mean? Well, here's the best way to think about it. A fighter's body, all that strength, speed, endurance, that's the hardware. Fight IQ? That's the software. It's the operating system that's running the whole show, telling the hardware what to do, when to do it, and why. It's kind of like the ghost in the machine. And this really gets to the heart of it. It's one thing to know how to throw a perfect punch, but it's a whole other thing to know when, where, and why to throw it. That application, that split-second decision-making under fire, that is fight IQ. And look, fight IQ isn't just some vague concept. It actually breaks down into these 5 core pillars. You've got pattern recognition. That's about spotting your opponent's habits, their tells. Then there's spatial awareness, basically understanding the geometry of the ring or cage and using it to your advantage. Adaptability is huge, the ability to just scrap your game plan mid-fight if it's not working. Energy management, knowing when to push the pace and when to conserve. And maybe the most important one, composure, keeping your head and making smart decisions even when you're hurt and under incredible pressure. All right, let's see how this plays out in the real world. We'll start with the sweet science, boxing. Because the rules are so specific, the strategy has to go incredibly deep. In boxing, since you're only using your fists, the mental game gets super concentrated. This is what people call ring generalship. It's all about controlling the space, dictating the pace of the fight, and basically tricking your opponent into making mistakes. The true greats, they aren't just brawlers, they're architects. They're setting traps 3 moves ahead. Let's look at a perfect case study of this. Remember when Floyd Mayweather fought Shane Mosley? Mayweather seemed untouchable, right? Well, Mosley landed this monster right hand that buckled his knees. For a split second, Floyd's entire game plan was just gone, shattered. But this is where his fight IQ just takes over. The problem is clear. A huge power punch just got through his defense. His brain instantly analyzes the situation. My usual game plan is toast. So what's the adjustment? He immediately clinches to stop the onslaught and buy time. And the execution? He completely abandons his famous Philly shell defense for a basic high guard just to regain control. Think about that. He did all of this in a matter of seconds while badly hurt. And the result? It was incredible. Mosley basically couldn't land another clean, significant shot for the rest of the fight. That right there, that's the power of fight IQ. One single mental adjustment, a pivot in the middle of a crisis, and the entire threat was neutralized. He didn't just survive, he adapted and took complete control. Of course, you can't talk about fight IQ without talking about Bernard Hopkins again. The guy was a living masterclass in mind over matter. By the time he was in his late 40s, he couldn't match the speed or power of the younger guys, so he didn't even try. Instead, he relied on what some people call spoiling tactics. He'd clinch, smother, and just control the pace to frustrate them. His masterpiece was against the undefeated Felix Trinidad. He figured out Trinidad's whole game was built around his killer left hook, so he just systematically took it away from him and handed a legend his very first defeat. Okay, so that's boxing. Now, let's ramp up the complexity. Big time. What happens when you add kicks, knees, elbows, takedowns, submissions, the whole shebang? Well, welcome to the world of mixed martial arts. You see, if boxing is like getting a PhD in one subject, MMA is like trying to juggle 4 different degrees at once. You have to manage what we call a mental stack of all these different disciplines, all at the same time. The strategic puzzle just explodes in complexity.
Think about what's going through an MMA fighter's brain. At any given moment, they're processing striking from boxing and Muay Thai, the clinch game, wrestling for takedowns and defense, and ground grappling like BJJ. Is that a punch, or is he faking it to shoot for a takedown? Is he trying to submit me? The cognitive load, the amount of information they have to process is just immense.
And a true master of this mental stack was Georges St. Pierre, GSP. Take his rematch against BJ Penn. Now, Penn was a genius at boxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so GSP's team did their analysis and found the one potential weakness. Penn's conditioning wasn't elite. So the strategy wasn't to outbox the boxer or outgrapple the grappler. The strategy was to create fatigue. The execution? Use a grinding, smothering clinch game against the cage to wear down Penn's shoulders and just drain his gas tank. By the 4th round, Penn's conditioning was gone, and with it, all his weapons. GSP forced the stoppage. So once you start to understand this concept of fight IQ, I promise you, you'll never watch a fight the same way again. It's like you've been given a new pair of glasses to see what's really going on beneath the surface. And get this, it's not even just about the fighters themselves. The arena, the very space they're fighting in, completely changes the strategic puzzle. We have to look at the geometry of combat. Think about the difference between a boxing ring and an MMA cage. In a ring, those 4 corners are kill zones. They're places to trap an opponent. The ropes are flexible, you can use them defensively like Ali's famous rope-a-dope. But in the cage, there are no real corners to get trapped in. Instead, you have the fence. And that fence isn't just a boundary, it's a tool. It's a wall you can use to grind an opponent down, set up takedowns, or even help yourself stand back up. The smartest fighters don't just fight their opponent, they fight inside their environment. So really, what it all boils down to is this. The smartest fighters aren't just winning a physical battle. They're solving a complex, high-speed cognitive puzzle, and they're just solving it faster than their opponent. That's the real game. So the next time you tune in to watch a fight, I want you to ask yourself a question. Are you just seeing the brawl, or are you seeing the chess match, the physical chaos, or the mental code being written in real time? Because the chess match is always there, and now you know exactly what to look for.